He pointed to the large oak trees near his tent, a cool oasis in the middle of the sun-baked land. He hoped they would accept his offer of comfort.
My lords, if I have found favor in your sight, please do not pass by your servant. Please stay a while and rest. Let me bring you some water so you can wash your tired feet. Then you can rest under this shady tree.
The sun was very, very high in the sky. It shone down with all its might on the plains of Mamre. The land was dry, and the air felt warm and thick like a heavy blanket. Abraham, a good man who loved God, was sitting by the entrance to his tent. He was trying to find a little bit of shade from the strong afternoon heat. Everything was quiet and still. Even the sheep and goats were resting, trying to escape the day's warmth. Abraham often sat like this, thinking and praying, his heart open to the world around him and to God. He was an old man now with a long white beard, but his eyes were still sharp and kind, always watchful. Suddenly Abraham looked up from his thoughts. His gaze went far across the dusty land. He saw something in the distance, under the shimmering heat haze. 3 men were walking towards his camp. They did not look like people from nearby. Their clothes were dusty, and they walked slowly, as if they had traveled a very long way. Abraham did not know who they were, but his heart was always open to strangers. He believed that showing kindness to travelers was very important. He watched them come closer and closer, wondering where they had come from and where they were going on such a hot and tiring day. Without waiting even a moment, Abraham got up from his comfortable spot. He was an old man, but he moved quickly. He hurried out from the shade of his tent to meet the visitors. He did not want them to pass by without a welcome. In that hot, dry land, a friendly face and an offer of water could mean so much to a weary traveler. Abraham felt a sense of respect and duty. He wanted to honor these unknown guests. He ran towards them, his robes flowing a little behind him, eager to show them that they were seen and that help was near. As he came near to the 3 men, Abraham bowed down low to the ground. This was a sign of great respect in his country. He wanted them to know they were honored guests. The servant rushed off to do as he was told. Abraham wanted everything to be perfect for his important guests, showing them great honor. Abraham himself then took butter and milk and the calf that the servant had prepared so quickly. He set all this wonderful food before the 3 men under the shade of the oak tree. As they sat and ate the delicious meal, Abraham stood nearby, under the tree with them. He served them attentively, making sure they had everything they needed. He did not sit and eat with them, but waited on them like a humble servant, showing them the highest respect. He watched them enjoy the food, his heart full of the simple joy of giving and caring for others who had come to his door.
Hurry and prepare this calf quickly.
Sarah, though surprised by the sudden rush, understood the importance of hospitality. She immediately began to gather the flour and prepare the dough. Then Abraham ran to his herd of cattle. He chose a young calf, tender and good. He gave it to one of his young servants.
Get 3 measures of fine flour, knead it, and make some fresh bread cakes.
Though he said a little piece of bread, Abraham was already thinking of a much bigger meal. He wanted to give them the very best he had. He turned and hurried back towards his tent, his mind already busy with preparations. He called out to his wife, Sarah, who was inside the cool darkness of the tent. He knew she would help him make their guests feel truly special and well cared for during their unexpected visit. "Quickly," Abraham said to Sarah.
"And I will bring a little piece of bread so you can refresh your hearts. After that, you may continue on your journey, for you have come to your servant."
Abraham's heart felt glad when he heard their words. He was happy to have the chance to show them hospitality. He wanted to give them more than just a little water and shade. He wanted to offer them a proper meal to refresh them on their way, a true sign of welcome in his home. Abraham quickly said, "Please."
"Yes, please do as you have said. We will gladly accept your kindness and rest here for a while."
The 3 visitors listened kindly to Abraham's polite invitation. They looked tired from their long journey under the blazing sun.
"No, but you did laugh."
I did not laugh.
Sarah, feeling a little scared because her secret laugh was known, denied it, saying,
Why did Sarah laugh? Why did she say, "Will I really have a child now that I'm old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the appointed time I will return to you, about this time next year, and Sarah will have a son."
It seemed too unbelievable, almost funny to her, given how long they had waited and how old they both were. Her laugh was not mean, but filled with the disbelief of someone who had hoped for something for so long that it now seemed impossible, a dream too far away. The Lord, for this special visitor, was indeed God himself, knew Sarah's thoughts and her quiet laugh. He turned to Abraham and asked,
After I'm worn out, and my husband is old, will I really have this pleasure? Will I truly hold a baby in my arms at my age?
Abraham must have looked up in amazement. He and Sarah were very old, far beyond the age when people usually had children. It seemed like an impossible thing to happen. But this visitor spoke with such certainty. Could it really be true? Abraham had waited for a son, a child of promise, for many, many years. This news was almost too wonderful to believe, yet the visitor's words carried great weight. Now Sarah was listening from inside the tent opening, just behind where the men were sitting. She heard what the visitor said about her having a son. Sarah laughed to herself, a small hidden laugh.
I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah, your wife, will have a son.
Abraham replied, gesturing towards the opening of their home, where Sarah was likely resting or listening. Then the same visitor spoke again, and his words were truly astonishing.
She is there, inside the tent.
Abraham was a little surprised by the question, as guests did not usually ask so directly about the women of the household, but he answered respectfully.
Where is Sarah, your wife?
As the three visitors enjoyed the nourishing meal Abraham had so generously provided, they began to speak with him. They sat comfortably in the cool shade, the heat of the day forgotten for a while. One of the men, who seemed to have a special presence, a quiet authority that made Abraham listen very carefully, looked at him. Two of the visitors, who were angels, continued on their way towards Sodom. But Abraham stood there, still before the Lord. A deep concern began to grow in Abraham's heart. He knew that his nephew Lot lived in Sodom with his family. He worried about what would happen to Lot and any other good people who might be living in that wicked city. He felt he had to speak, to ask God about his plans.
I will go down now and see if what they have done is as bad as the outcry against them that has reached me, and if not, I will know.
He explained that the wickedness of these cities had reached a point where it could no longer be ignored. The cries of the oppressed and the evidence of their terrible deeds had come all the way up to heaven. God wanted Abraham to understand why he was going to visit these cities. It was not a casual visit, but one of an investigator, a judge who needed to see the truth for himself.
The outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is very great. Their sin is very, very serious.
God considered Abraham his friend, a righteous man who trusted him. God knew that Abraham's descendants would become a great and mighty nation, and that all the nations of the earth would be blessed through him. He also knew Abraham would teach his children and his household to keep the way of the Lord, to do what is right and just. Because of this special relationship and Abraham's faithfulness, God decided to share his serious plans with him, treating him like a trusted confidant.
Shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do?
After they had finished eating the wonderful meal, and after the surprising promise about a son for Abraham and Sarah, the three visitors stood up. They prepared to leave Abraham's camp. They turned their faces and began to walk towards the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, which lay in the valley below. Abraham, still showing his deep respect and hospitality, walked with them for a part of their journey. He wanted to see them safely on their way. The sun was beginning to sink lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the land, but the air was still warm from the day's intense heat. As they walked together, the Lord thought to himself. Abraham, encouraged by God's willingness to listen, pressed on. He asked about 40, then 30, then 20 righteous people. Each time Abraham spoke with great humility, acknowledging his boldness in questioning God, and each time the Lord patiently agreed not to destroy the city if that number of righteous people could be found. Abraham was bargaining for lives, showing how much he cared, even for people who lived in a wicked city. He was standing in the gap, speaking up for others.
I will not destroy it if I find 45 righteous people there.
He was testing the limits of God's patience, but also showing his deep desire to save the city if possible. God, in his incredible mercy, responded again.
Now that I have dared to speak to the Lord, even though I am only dust and ashes, please let me ask again. Suppose 5 of the 50 righteous are missing. Will you destroy the whole city because of those 5?
Abraham felt a small bit of relief, but his concern for Sodom and for Lot pushed him to continue. He spoke again, very humbly.
If I find in Sodom 50 righteous people within the city, then I will spare the whole place for their sakes.
Abraham was appealing to God's own character, his fairness and his justice, hoping to persuade him to show mercy. The Lord, in his great understanding, replied to Abraham's heartfelt plea.
Suppose there are 50 righteous people within the city. Will you then sweep away the place and not spare it for the sake of the 50 righteous people who are in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to kill the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous suffer the same as the wicked. Far be it from you. Will not the judge of all the earth do what is right?
He could not imagine God destroying good people. The Lord listened patiently as Abraham continued.
Will you really sweep away the righteous people along with the wicked people?
Abraham drew a little closer to the Lord, his heart heavy with worry, but also filled with a brave kind of faith. He knew he was just a man made of dust and ashes speaking to the Almighty God, yet he felt he must say something for the people of Sodom, especially for any innocent people who might live there. He began his plea with a bold question, one that showed his deep concern for justice and mercy. He did not grow angry with Abraham for his persistent questions. Instead, he listened to every word and showed his willingness to spare the wicked for the sake of even a few righteous souls. This conversation showed Abraham, and all who would later read this story, just how much God values righteousness and how patient he is with those who seek his mercy. God was willing to go to great lengths to save people if there was any goodness to be found. When the Lord had finished speaking with Abraham, he went on his way, and Abraham returned to his tent. Abraham's heart must have been full of many emotions, awe at God's patience, hope for Sodom, and perhaps a sense of peace, knowing he had done all he could. This incredible meeting teaches us so many important things. It shows us that nothing is too hard for God. He could give Sarah a son in her old age, and his power is limitless. It also shows us the amazing depth of God's mercy, his willingness to forgive and spare if there is a reason to do so. Most importantly, Abraham's bold bargain highlights the power of caring for others. Abraham did not just think about himself or his own family. He pleaded for the lives of people in a city known for its sin. He showed true compassion and courage by speaking to God on their behalf. This story reminds us that God listens to our prayers, especially when we pray for others with a sincere heart. It encourages us to have faith, to show hospitality to all, and to believe in the great mercy and power of God, who desires that all should find the path of righteousness and life.
For the sake of 10, I will not destroy it.
He held his breath, waiting for God's answer. 10 good people seemed like such a small number to save an entire city known for its great wickedness. But Abraham hoped with all his heart that God's mercy would extend even this far, showing compassion if even a tiny remnant of goodness remained. And the Lord, in his infinite patience and boundless mercy, replied to Abraham's final plea.
Oh, please do not let the Lord be angry, and I will speak only one more time. Suppose only 10 righteous people are found there in the city.
Finally, Abraham made his last, most daring request. He felt he could not ask for less.